watch some of that 500.
What's good, everybody? Steve here with Gay City Sports Channel. I got my guy Burgang31 over this direction. One of these directions over here. What's good, man? How you doing, man?
Yeah, I'm doing great. You know what I'm saying? It's looking crazy this week, but it's gonna be interesting what goes on here next week with our football team, man. Like, I was sad to see the whole Jalen Hurts thing. I'm like, man, he's not ready yet. But this show's not about Jalen, but we're gonna get into it.
So, for you guys that are tuning in, you can probably tell from the thumbnail and the title, we're here to talk about Cordarrelle Patterson. I don't name him Corduroy, but look, he's a very unique talent, and I'll be honest, Burgang. I'm going to share what I thought week one.
Okay,
you're telling us, oh man, like this dude's going to be the starting running back for Atlanta. I immediately thought, oh, chopped liver, like this is really good for the Eagles. Like, yeah, this is pretty good news breaking for the Eagles, and it turned out in our favor because they just really didn't have enough power to really compete with us in that game.
Yeah,
but I'll tell you this: following the Eagles game and just like tracking what Patterson has done, he's been pretty good. Like, I think that this could be the beginnings of something that is kind of a new age to things, but certainly, there's a lot of talent here, and it's unique. I mean,
yeah, man.
What do you think?
I didn't think he was gonna be that good the whole year. Like, I seen a couple of flash plays. I thought, oh, that's cool. They did that with Cordarrelle. That's cool. But I did not think, like you said, he's been doing this all year long to every team. You know what I'm saying? He's been running up down the field. He's still catching balls too. So not only is he running out of the backfield, he's catching balls. He's doing everything, man. He's like a Swiss Army knife out there, man. And he's looking good, man. He's definitely regenerating his career. When they just kept him at return guy and receiver, I think his career was kind of taking a downhill. But adding this new dimension to his repertoire there, I think it was a good thing for him.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's kind of, it's crazy because normally when I think of guys that play this role, and I know the role is kind of expansive, and we can get into that today, but I really think about like Deebo Samuels and the Curtis Samuels of the world. Deebo Samuel, Curtis Samuel, these kind of wide receivers with that kind of build that they were using and moving around. But, Patterson gets left out of the conversation a lot. He predates these guys.
Mm-hmm.
And he's got a track record of doing this. I mean, this is not the first time that he's hit the NFL for 200, rushing yards. This is the third time that he's hit them for over 200 yards rushing. So, I mean, yeah. I mean, he's an interesting guy. And I think what brings the uniqueness to this story is it's kind of like this new re-adaptation of the NFL. And this isn't brand spanking new because if you go back as far as the 1960s, it was very commonplace to have guys that were flirting around that 400, 500-yard mark, and then also having those numbers receiving. So it wasn't out, you know what I'm saying? Like, it was a different era of football. That's, got a lot more wingback stuff going on. I mean, it's a definitely different era of football, no doubt about it. But, I mean, you look at the guys, just look at some of these names. Johnny Robinson had 458 yards rushing and 60.
Ooh.
Dan Lewis had 451 yards and 61. Frank Jackson had 386 yards and 61. Joe Morrison in 60, he had 346 yards. Like, the guy that everyone is trailing, and I think this is kind of a really good discussion today, Burgang, is that Lenny Moore didn't just hit people for 374 yards in 1960. He actually set the mark for wide receivers and rushing yards in 61 when he hit 648.
Wow.
As we sit here today.
And that is the top overall?
Yeah, that's the top. That's the top overall.
That's a lot of rushing yards for a receiver.
Exactly. As we sit here today, Cordarrelle Patterson actually has 547 rushing yards. Yeah, he's about 100 yards off.
With 4 games left?
He might set the mark. And I know it's a little cheating because I don't think Cordarrelle Patterson is like a wide receiver who's, used as a running back. I think of him as a wide receiver that was converted to running back. So I do think that there is some subtlety and some differences, but he was a true wide receiver. And when you hear a guy 6'2", a former wide receiver, you're going to put this guy in the backfield to run the ball over 100 attempts on the year. I'm thinking to myself, this young man's going to run high and he's going to get popped.
You know, because his main thing is
Mhm.
return. Like he was the return guy, remember? You
Yeah,
know, so I
very
think
good
the
kick
whole
returner.
fact that that's like you got him in like a return situation when you got him deep in that backfield, and all he's doing, like I watched a couple of those runs, man. The way he just like stops, he acts like he's on kick return. He circles it out, but he's really fast too as well. So he's able to really hit that corner at a high speed. You know, that's really what's helping him out there.
I agree. Like he's a far better runner with the football in his hands than I think anyone could have anticipated. And it's kind of
Mm-hmm.
crazy because he's been in the league for a little while now, and it's kind of like a lot of missed opportunity. I
Yeah.
mean, this young man could have been, if you had a more creative coach, he could have done a lot because, I mean, it really goes back to 2018, and then they used him last year in 2020. You know, he got kind of mixed in between Chicago and that
Mm-hmm.
time in New England. They started kind of being like, this guy's pretty good with the ball in his hands, and he's a playmaker. You just got to find a way of getting the ball into his hands to use that speed, to use his agility. And they
Mm-hmm.
started coming up with these creative ways to get him. And now we've just seen kind of the master class of it come together underneath probably one of the guys I wouldn't consider to be. I like him. I think Smith and those guys are really good coaches out there. But I would have never said that's the most creative guy, play caller in the NFL. That's not
Facts.
the guy I would have thought. You know what I mean? Like, but I
Yeah.
think that he had that experience in Tennessee in finding unique ways to use guys
Mm-hmm.
that I think might be bringing that kind of experience and that kind of uptick to Atlanta.
Yeah.
And I think that plays a role in all of this. Because here's the deal. I'm going to show some clips here in just a few seconds, guys. He is far better running the football than a lot of people get, man. I mean, I've watched this young man get behind his pads and actually go into contact. And, 6'2", 220-pound guy, that's not easy to do. I mean, you think about a guy like Leonard Fournette, because Leonard Fournette's kind of a tall guy. A lot of times, Josh Adams, former Eagle, played for the Jets. A lot of
Mm-hmm.
times, those big, tall, athletic guys, one of the problems you have is they're upright runners. If
Mm-hmm.
you can't get low and get that center of gravity as a running back, you're in a lot of trouble. And this young man, I mean, he's a lot better than what you would expect a guy at his size to be. And
Yeah,
that's like,
facts. I didn't think he was gonna last as long, for real. I didn't.
I didn't either.
I thought he's
I didn't
definitely
either.
gonna get blasted a couple of times. You know, and really it's not even more him. I just thought, Davis was gonna have a bigger role. He hasn't really showed out this year, you know. And I heard him talking about, oh, he's back, he's back, he's back. I'm like, when are you back? Like, we're in week 15 now, my guy. You talking about you back? Like Cordarelle's
Yeah.
been leading this team. What makes you think the coaches should even give him the ball more? I wouldn't. I'll just keep riding the hot hand the rest of the year.
He's got really good vision. He's far better at finding and predicting the holes and getting through those gap assignments than you would think a guy. Like, that normally takes time, and you got to have like a little bit of chemistry built up with the offensive line. Man, he's doing so much better than what I thought would be the case, man. Like, I mean, he's honestly an underrated player in the NFL, and that's what our show has been focusing on, right? We started off with Antonio Gibson of saying,
Mm-hmm.
hey, watch this guy because he hasn't had a good 2021, but I felt like, boy, the wheels of momentum are going to get there. And then he popped off for like 4 straight games.
Yeah,
You know,
his thing is really about his ball handling skills. Like he keeps fumbling it. But other than
yeah,
that, he's second, or even what was he, second, third, or was he fifth in NFL in rushing this year?
he's
I
doing
know he's in
really
the
well.
top 5. I remember.
Yeah, he's doing very, very well in terms of rushing. I do agree he's got to hold on to the football better.
Mm-hmm.
Then we focused on Jaylen Waddle because there's been a lot of attention about all these rookie wide receivers. And somehow, some weird way, he's picked up steam and people are noticing it more after we made the show. But
Mm-hmm.
nobody was really talking about Jaylen Waddle. And the guy was having a remarkable season.
Yeah.
So
I
today,
told you my thing. I wanted Waddle from the jump. Like
yeah.
I taken Devontae in the first round, but Waddle's explosive, man. Like
Mm-hmm.
you can just watch his highlights, like just the energy that he puts into every single play, man. It's just something dynamic that you couldn't. I don't know. That's why he went before Devontae. I guess he went
Yeah,
where we're supposed to go.
exactly. And then, this week, guys, we're going to Cordarrelle Patterson because I think this is a vastly underrated player. He has been really good in 2021. And to be honest with you, he's probably going to earn himself some bank. And this is a guy I wouldn't mind seeing the Eagles finding a way of getting him through free agency next year. But I just think his price range for the role he plays, it probably won't align for the Eagles. And I think Atlanta would be crazy to let this young man get out of their organization because I don't think Atlanta has enough offensive weapons and pieces there to just ignore a guy like Cordarrelle Patterson right now,
But do
personally.
you think But do you think, Gate, that it's just he might not be able to do this again? You know what I'm saying? Like, no one had thought about, even had a clue that he was going to get used like this in Atlanta this year. You know, that's kind of hitting teams off guard. You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
Do you think he is that guy that can do this year in, year out? You know, he's not the youngest guy in the world, but he's still not old. But do you
yeah,
think he can continue this?
right.
That's really the question in free agency, I see.
That's a very good question. Right coach, right scheme, right quarterback, right team around him. I think so. I definitely do
Mm-hmm.
because I mean Atlanta is not chump change when it comes to the offensive line. I mean they have invested picks there, but they're not great either. This is not a great offensive line. You know, we knew that going into that game that our defensive line was going to have some fun against that
Mm-hmm.
offensive line. So I mean, he's done a lot, and like I guess probably the best way we can do this, guys, is we're going to go ahead and we're going to run some video footage of this young man as a running back, you know, running out of the ball of the backfield, and just let you guys kind of get a viewpoint of what it is that we saw through the film when we went and looked at this young man. Because yeah, he definitely stood out to me, and I was like, huh, write this young man down. Let's talk about him.
Yes, sir. It's those returner eyes, man. He
Yeah.
is smooth with it, man. I like him. I do.
Mhm.
I like what I
And
see.
And as I look at guys like the modern NFL, who are the modern guys? We all know Debo Samuel. We all know Curtis Samuels. Those two guys pop off to me right away
Mm-hmm.
as guys that you pay attention to who have those abilities to be a receiver and to take the ball out of the backfield on you, right? We even
Mm-hmm.
saw Keenan Allen not necessarily run the ball, but be used out of the backfield in like wing positions, double split backs. We've seen things like that with Keenan Allen out and with the Chargers out in Los Angeles, kind of doing that kind of stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But when I look through, like, okay, like recently, who are the guys in the past like 15 years or so? I mean, Tavon Austin is the one guy I think of like kind of a gimmicky backfield
Mm-hmm.
guy where he had 3 seasons. One of those years in 2015, he had over 400 yards rushing, which I didn't realize he had that kind of yardage, to be honest with you. Then
Was
he had,
that with the Rams or Dallas?
I think that was with the Rams because that was back in
Mm-hmm.
2015. And then he had 2017, he had a 270-yard season. And then in 2014, I believe he had a 224-yard season. So Tavon Austin. Then you had Percy Harvin, another guy who
Mm-hmm.
was a really good return guy, was very special in that part of the game, was a kind of a quasi wide receiver. He had ability. He definitely can break one on you. But he had 2 seasons, one in 11 and one in 2014. In 11, he had 345 yards. 14, he had 202 yards rushing. So, I
Mm-hmm.
mean, there are a couple guys, Tyreek Hill, his rookie season in 16, had 267 yards out of the backfield running. Brad Smith, ex-Jet, had 299 yards in 2010 and 207 yards in 2009. So the modern era of what we've seen has basically been Percy Harvin, Tyreek Hill, Brad Smith, Tavon Austin, Curtis Samuels, Debo Samuel, and then Cordarrelle Patterson.
Yeah.
These are these type of kind of in-betweeners that
Mm-hmm.
you can get this kind of flexibility with. But outside of Tyreek Hill, who's just a phenomenal athlete all around, I think Brad Smith, I think, was a little underrated during his time. I never
Mm-hmm.
thought he was anything spectacular or special, but I thought if you ever put him on a good enough team with enough weapons around him and could use what he could do. He could be something special. None of those guys to me, other than like Deebo Samuel's a good player, but he's injured a lot. And then Curtis Samuel's, I was expecting big things from him coming to Washington this year, but he hasn't been right with his health. And
he been getting injured a lot over there.
Yeah, he hasn't really been anything. All these guys are chasing Lenny Moore from 60. When he hit the 648 yards rushing. And like what stands out to me is just how good of a receiver Cordarrelle Patterson is in this role. Because I don't think he's anything special if you're just lining him up on the outside, play in and play out. I think corners and teams kind of adjust to him and they take away what he can do. But something about flipping him into the back and then moving him around, even, splitting him into tight formations, splitting him out wide, it creates these matchup problems for teams. And when you get somebody in a bad matchup with Cordarrelle Patterson, it's a really big problem because he's fast, he's big, and he's got really good agility and really good eyes.
He's great eyes.
Yeah.
He finds these holes, man. He knows when to bounce it out. He's been doing both of those things. And the surprising thing, seeing a lot of that film, it's just like you said, the pad level, man. He's not scared to hit nobody. He's running through, keeping those feet pumping, breaking through tackles and whatnot. Like that's something you don't expect to see, from a receiver. You see that with the running backs a lot, but you don't really usually see that kind of like a tight end almost, when he's running with the ball.
Yeah, and that's the thing is that it's what this changeup has done for this young man in terms of the overall player that intrigues me, because now you got 1,000 yards from scrimmage player, you got 549 yards rushing, and now you got 519 yards receiving on a 46 receptions. Like you got a 500-yard receiver and a 500-yard rusher in this young man, and that's real. That's major production from a player. And when I went through the Filmberg gang, I was just really shocked at how good he is on things like tunnel screens, those bubble screens, just little swings and wheel routes, like all those little angle routes from the backfield, running the angle guys it's that motion. All those little things, like he is quite the weapon out of the backfield as a receiver doing that. And I want to get into a conversation about Philadelphia following this, but right now I just want to, I want to give Atlanta the moment. They're 20 minutes or so, and then, Cordarrelle Patterson his moment, because this is about, celebrating the revival of a guy's career. Because I think Cordarrelle Patterson was pretty much, no one was expecting much from this young man.
I thought he was really done.
He really found kind of a niche here. Like, to be honest, like I don't know how long it's going to last, but it doesn't matter, because even if it only lasts a few seasons, guys, that's a few more seasons he was probably going to get. He looked like, outside of just being a kick returner and being a special teams guy, maybe a fifth guy on your roster, it looked like it was done for him. Like, for him
that's an extra plus right there. He can still return kicks too for you. Exactly. You know what I'm saying? Like that, and he's still dangerous at that. So it's crazy, man. Atlanta definitely used this guy in the right situation this year. That's for sure. Yeah,
and the thing is that like people see the number 84 on his jersey and they immediately think like this can't last. I even saw you guys are in the comment section. I'm not coming for you. I'm just saying I see those comments like, well, it's not going to last for him. Well, the thing is, this isn't a little guy. He's 220 pounds. Like, this is a big guy. Like, he's not a small guy. And I don't know his background, guys. I don't know if he has any running back in his background in high school. Tyreek Hill was a running back in college. I don't know that kind of background about him, but I saw physical play from this young man. I mean, he is out there just absolutely stiff arming, yakking the crap out of guys. When I show you the receiving clips I put together, guys, you're going to be like, whoa, like this dude he's a serious yak guy. Like he'll take advantage of guys from a yak standpoint and really do some damage to people. And that's what stood out to me. It was like, holy crap, man, this dude he's on to something when it comes to the run after the catch stuff. Like, guys are having a heck of a time bringing him down in open field, open space. And I think that's, where you need the creativity of the coaching staff. And to be honest with you, I don't think Atlanta has a team around him. I think they got pieces and Pitts and guys like that. But I don't think the overall team is that good. I think if you were to put that young man on a better team, I think the outcome could be a lot different. But I want to go ahead, guys. I'll show you guys some of the receiving stuff I saw on film, and then we'll come back and we'll talk, and we'll bring this conversation, sorry, Atlanta fans, back to the Eagles, because we do a national football show, and we're giving you your props here for having your coach having a really good eye to identify this young man. But we're going to spin it back at the end of this show, kind of towards what we see from the Eagles roster, and can anyone be used in this role?
Yes, sir.
Let's get it.
Wide open, it's Patterson across midfield, fins off Logan Ryan, and still going. Four-man Washington rush for Patterson in the end zone. He's got.
Yeah.
He's a good receiver, man. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, he's revived his career in this role. He has. And, you know, I put a poll out to everybody today, you know, and I was asking them about what they thought about Cordarrelle Patterson. Like, what are your thoughts, guys? Like, what do you see? We got over 100 votes on this poll. And I was a little shocked we got that much attention, because I didn't know that this many people were paying attention to this storyline. So shout out to you guys for being well aware of the storyline and participating in that, knowing it. But, you know, here's what I'll say, you know, when it comes to Cordarrelle Patterson and how you guys voted, which is, go ahead and share the screen and pull it up, guys, and we can see. We got my Chrome tab. Not the studio. I think it's this one, guys. Yep. All right. So I'm going to share it now. So, yeah, I talked about the live stream being tonight, Bird Gang 31 and myself, 7:45. And I asked you guys this topic. Tonight's topic, Cordarrelle Patterson. Here's your question. What is your overall thoughts on Cordarrelle Patterson? Here's the tallied votes, guys. 28% of you guys said we should be using Jalen Reagor in that role. 39% of you guys, this didn't shock me, said we should be using Kenneth Gainwell in that role. 8% said we should be interested in signing him during free agency. 5% said I would like to add him, but he will cost too much for that role. And then 21% of you guys said he's getting an extension from Atlanta. So, I'll ask Bergen.
I think that's about right, man. Like, I really do think, to be honest, that is what I want to see out of Gainwell. You know, keep your running backs the way you got. Keep Gainwell, have him be that guy where you got him out of the backfield. You line him up at slot. You know, maybe not doing anything with Gainwell on the outside. He's just all slot type stuff. But then, yeah, having them motion, do bubble screens and whatnot like that, and still giving them some carries, you know, just to keep them relevant as a running back. But, yeah, Reagor, too. That's exactly how you need to play Reagor. Like, he doesn't have another role but that really right now in his career as a receiver, I don't believe. You know, like we kind of did it that, what was it, the Lions game, you know, where you're seeing those end arounds, jet sweeps, you know, and he was picking up some good yardage on there. That's what you need to do. And honestly, it builds up the person's, you know, it builds up his, excuse me, it builds up his whole like momentum for the game. You know, it gets him in the flow of the game. You know, he's picking up some easy yards, you know, because their speed is going to give him those first, you know, 5 to 10 yards off and on, back and forth, you know. to the point where he has so much momentum and so much steam picked up. Now you can throw him a ball. He's already lax. He's already feeling good, flowing through the game, where it's going to help get him open in the passing game.
See, and this is what I like about it. So Cordarrelle Patterson and Jalen Reagor and Kenneth Gainwell are a little different. Like, I do think that Jalen Reagor, he's not quite as big. He's not a 6'2", 220-pound guy, but he's built like a running back, from the waist down. Like he's definitely got that center of gravity type, and I think he even played running back in high school and early college a little bit. But what I think is the most, I think, likely comparison here or reasoning here, if you will, is the fact that Jalen Reagor is a guy that, like, you have to create offense for him. You have to find ways of getting him the ball. You have to manufacture the touches for him right now. And one of the ways you do that is when you put a guy in the backfield like that, that is by definition manufacturing the touches.
Right.
For the player. Now, I'm not saying you line him up kind of like, as a running back. Like, we have plenty of good enough running backs. But utilizing him out of the backfield on occasions to release and get those free releases, I do think is kind of a good idea, because where he struggles is beating man press.
Facts.
Just remove the problem completely. I can see that side of things making sense to me. Now, this season, I wouldn't be giving Jalen Reagor a ton. I wouldn't be taking away handoffs, from our running backs. It's different if you're using him to confuse the eyes of the defense, like on a jet motion, like a jet sweep. That's one thing on a jet sweep, because now you're trying to draw the defense's eyes one way and then take advantage of them to get that outside. But I'm not going to take away handoffs from Miles Sanders, Jordan Howard, Boston Scott, or Kenneth Gainwell. When you look at Kenneth Gainwell, it's the fact that he's not 6'2" and he's not going to go up there and waltz any balls. That ain't his game. He's a good route runner, though.
Yes.
He's a really, really good route runner, and I think he's got some of that one cut ability, right? He's not going to bulldoze you. That's not his body frame, but he's not a runner as people think. He's definitely more of a one cut runner than he's given credit for. Same thing with Miles Sanders, right? Miles Sanders' problem is I don't think he sees the gap assignments in the holes correctly. So he'll have a tendency to dance by doing that. But since Deuce got a hold of him, he's been very much a one-cut runner, and you can see that in his efficiency ratings if you go to next-gen stats, guys. I mean, he's one of the highest-rated efficiency runners, which means he, generally speaking, is a north-to-south runner. He's not running laterally, guys. He's not going east to west as much as people think. I just look at someone like Kenneth Gainwell, and I could see that, I think you have to expand the role for him. I do think that. I think that you have Dallas Goedert, he's a good player. You have Devontae Smith, and defenses are going to give him attention. I think the guy that you could, you already know you got your running backs. So you got Sanders, you got Howard, you got your offensive line to get behind. The guy that might be able to create real mismatches is Reagor and Gainwell. Reagor has not played well. So the next guy in line to me, and I said this like 4 or 5 weeks ago before it was being, popularly pushed out there. I said, maybe play Gainwell in the slot and give him a chance.
Yeah.
Because I think Gainwell is a really good receiver. I think he runs pretty sharp routes.
He had over 1,000 yards receiving, right? Last year in football.
Yeah. What concerned me about Reagor in the slot, and the reason I kept saying, guys, he's an outside receiver, he's a flanker, is that when you looked at his agility drills, he did not test well. That makes me a little iffy on him playing slot. Gainwell's different. Gainwell's agility drills are pretty good. Like, I think that Gainwell would be a really effective slot receiver. I really do. I think he would give you the speed you're looking for, the explosiveness you're looking for. And by the way, if you do those quick hitters and the tunnel screens and stuff like that, he gives you the vision. Then you got Quez on one side when he gets back. We're hoping he gets back before Sunday, but it depends on how things go with the protocol. You got Quez, you got, what I mean? Then you can mix in a Reagor here and there. I know that, guys, we don't have control over snap counts. We don't know. I'm just saying there are other ways of doing things. And, you look at a guy like Cordarrelle Patterson, man, and I'll tell you what, he tells you that you can use these unique players and get production out of them with the right offensive coaching, the right concept, and the right teams around them. Now, I'm not ignoring one big fact here. Matt Ryan, who I do think at times can be a little overrated, although he's a very good football player, is behind center. Yes, that's true. Matt Ryan is a prospect. He's going to see it. He's going to get the ball out. Matt Ryan's been playing behind a bad offensive line for the past few years, so he's definitely probably getting to that point of I'm tired of taking hits. So I'm going to process it and get out quicker. With that said, I do think that, if you can get these guys who can win, who can get open, I think that, it's kind of like the chicken and egg situation, right? We can talk about quarterbacks got to get the ball in the hands of these receivers, and we haven't done that at times this year. We can talk about receivers had to present themselves as targets and free themselves from coverage, and they haven't done it at times this year. Bottom line is, I think you got to, in my opinion, as I look at this roster, it's not good enough as it stands on the outside. It's just not.
It's not. I'm on board even drafting another first rounder, to be honest.
Yeah.
But what do you think? Out of those three, would you rather have go pick up a Cordarrelle Patterson, or which one of those three would you rather have in that kind of role for our offense? He's a free agent at the end of this year.
I honestly, I would rather have, personally, and you don't always get these things because players have to want to come here, and you got to be able to give them the money they desire. And there's always these two sides to a coin, right?
Mm-hmm.
Personally, I would like to have a boundary side split end X-line receiver, a guy with a big wingspan, a guy that can make contested catches, a guy that can help you convert and move the football. I think that's what this offense lacks. You got a guy in Devontae Smith who can beat man coverage. Teams that have to devote more than one guy over him, they've been bracketing him to take him out of games. You got Dallas Goedert who can give you that big target, inside,
in the middle,
in line, or as an F tight end where you're flexing them and moving them. You got Quez who can be kind of a splash play guy. You got a project in Reagor, so the project part is check.
Check.
Now you just need a guy you can trust. You need a guy that can give your quarterback, whoever it is. To me, I don't care who you put as your quarterback. You got to present them better targets.
Right.
And I think that's the issue right now. Like, I would like, if you can get an Allen Robinson, I'm all for that one. I don't know what the cost would be there, and I don't know if we're in the game for that. Devontae Adams, that's a pipe dream. We're not gonna have the kind of.
But it'd be an awesome pipe dream, my guy.
Oh man,
Imagine if we got Adams.
It would be awesome, but I can't see us having that kind of money. Allen Robinson, though, I would be in on. Like, yeah, I mean, you got to keep him kind of healthy and on the field, but the player's good. And look, people can say all they want to about Alshon Jeffrey, and it ended badly. He did his job in 2017. That's for sure. Like, the man did his job in 2017, and outside of the drop that knocked us out of the playoffs in 2018, we noticed the offense tick down when he wasn't in there. Remember, he had that shoulder injury early on in the season.
He was hurt.
He didn't get back for a couple of games. And we saw the offense wasn't that great without him. Then you had Ajayi who was dealing with the knee. We had let Blunt go. Like, pieces of that team had kind of fallen apart. And that same magic wasn't really – I'm not saying that there wasn't elements of the magic, but the same magic wasn't there offensively.
Yeah.
So
the injuries caught up with Alshon. As you see, like, is he even playing right now? Has he even played the last couple of years?
No, he hasn't played this year. Last year, he barely played. He was with us, and, he was out with – he had that weird situation with the Liz Frank, remember, where he was supposed to –
yeah, that's why he was on the team.
Like 8 weeks, and then Fulgham went off, so then they were having difficulties of trying to figure out how you integrate the player back.
Yeah,
they finally integrated him back late in the season and take the snaps away from Fulgham, which causes Fulgham to slide down the rabbit hole. I've had a lot of people ask me, like, would we, Miami cut Fulgham? Should we bring him back? From a talent perspective, and absolutely. From the maturity perspective, I don't know what was going on there, but I heard a lot of reports that he was a very immature player. So I don't know.
What about this, though? Have you thought about this? Why not use Tyree Jackson in that role on the outside? Because, I know he's learning tight end, right?
Yeah.
But the dude's like, what, 6'7", 250, but he can still run like a 4.3 40,
I don't know where look, I trust that he's going to get there in terms of his route running because he's a former quarterback. So, he definitely understands where to run and how to run the routes. But in saying that, we have to see it produced on the field. Zach Ertz was used in that role a little bit where they would use him in 12-man personnel basically as almost an X receiver. He was kind of playing that role, but he wasn't a big wingspan guy. He had like a 76, 77-inch wingspan.
Zach used to line up on the outside a lot.
But that's not really, when you look at the Alshons, those guys are normally, like even JJ, those guys are right around 80-inch wingspans. Like, I don't know. People are like, oh, it's just measurements. But it's like, yeah, but that stuff matters when you're dealing with the boundary side. When you're dealing with tighter contested windows to throw into, the bigger wingspan and catch radius you can give a quarterback and the stronger hands you have, the better you understand your body positioning, boxing a guy out, the better you're going to do. You know what I mean? Better you're going to be at converting. What's up, Rock Lee? Appreciate the $1.99 super chat, buddy. What 22 or 23 wide receivers would you want Eagles to draft?
I got one on my list, baby.
I know who you want. You want Drake, and I think Drake's good.
Drake.
I think Drake makes a lot of sense.
And not only him, Mechie too from Alabama.
Yeah. I mean, it depends on what they're looking for. Like I said, I personally, let me take a look and see, like 22 NFL draft wide receivers. I mean, personally, I think the Eagles offense needs a boundary side receiver. Mm-hmm. I think we have too many of these in-betweeners, and I'm not overly impressed.
Quez is tall enough, fast enough, but he doesn't have enough weight. You know what I'm saying? To really present that force on the outside that you're looking for.
Yeah, I mean, look, you can get a guy that just separates well. I mean, look, you got Garrett Wilson, who's, I wouldn't call him a boundary side receiver, but if you're going to go into that D-Jax / like Macklin type role, Garrett Wilson could give you that kind. You know what I mean? 6 foot, 190-pound guy. I mean, he's a pretty good football player. How do you say it? Is it Olave? You know what I'm talking about, the other Ohio State receiver. I remember,
yeah. That dude's a beast, too.
Ago. Yeah, I remember a year or two ago. He was definitely up there, and he's a really good he's a really good route runner, and he's got really good body control, that's a big thing. You want to have, if you're looking for a guy that can help you get those conversions, that's what it is. Think of the guys like Drake London, who gives you the size, 6'5", 210. He's a yak guy. USC's offense is very much a yak guy. I think with Drake London, you kind of have to ask yourself, what are like, we're looking at the spread contest. So are you getting a Michael Pittman Jr. type, or are you getting deceived? I think that's the question there with him. But I would probably take a chance on him. I do.
He played better than Pittman did at USC.
Yeah. I mean, but Pittman, when you look at his film, though, man, you could definitely see that there were things about Pittman that was there. There's the kid Burks from Arkansas. The problem I have with Burks is I'm a little scared about whether or not he can separate at the NFL level. I have to see that. He's a big guy. He's got that DK kind of 230-pound frame, but I don't think that he's got the same. And we'll have to see how his testing comes out. I don't want to say anyone is or isn't something, guys, until we see the actual testing, but I do know that he has that kind of big 6'3"-ish, 230-some pound kind of frame to him. That's we know the category of what that is. As I look past that, man, I think get into some less certain, players. You got Justin Ross, though. I think Justin Ross could be a pretty good receiver in this draft class.
Is that the Clemson guy?
Yeah, he's a Clemson guy. You got Mechie, like you said, from Alabama. Mechie's
and
definitely
Williams too. Like, is Williams a freshman from Alabama? Because that guy's a beast.
Yeah, Mechie, he's got some speed on him. If you're looking at that kind of player, then you got, partially we don't even know who's going to declare, so we have to figure out which underclassmen are going to declare. You know what I mean? Like that's a big part of it. And until we can see that, you know what I mean? Like there's a guy over at NC State, Emeka Mezzi, as a guy that you take a later round chance on to bring in competition and get a guy that has strong hands. I think he's a step up from what Kelvin Harmon was, the guy that played for Washington for a little while, ended up busting up his knee with an ACL. I mean, he had a really good rookie year, then he had the ACL and he wasn't the same. I think Emeka Mezzi is a step up from Kelvin Harmon. And Kelvin Harmon was a New Jersey kid. So he was a Jersey kid himself. So, I mean, I definitely think there are these guys out there you can get. It's early in the evaluation, though, guys. Like January, you're going to see videos coming out from me hot and strong about evaluating the prospects. You'll see me break them down, and I'll break down their routes. I'm going to break down, where their strengths and where their weaknesses lie. Every year, you guys know, if you follow me, you know that I come up with that. And I feel like certain teams like Washington like to steal my information, but they've definitely robbed me the last 2 years. Like, man, I'm going to stop putting out videos because they just basically watch my videos and drafting last year's draft. Yeah.
But I don't know, man. I'm like torn because I feel like we keep going down the same rabbit hole. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if they say, forget it. and go ahead and go all in on one of these quarterback free agencies. I remember I was just looking at the free agency list, and like I'm gonna be doing a stream to break that down as well too. But there's some nice receivers on that list. Like you might want to go get this. Like and I don't really care. I know people think we might have up to $50 million. Now I'm pretty sure that Howie can find a way if he wants to play here to go get a guy like Adams. Like you just got to throw that money at him.
Let me
And
ask
you
you
put a lot of it in like that sign-in bonus, so you're not looking at a huge cap hit. I'm pretty sure he'd be happy to do it, and to have him on the other side.
So this
we need to get a sure thing. A guy that wants the ball. That's when the ball's in this area, he's going to be hungry to go get it. I don't want some guy that's just waiting for perfect passes all day.
Yeah. So Rock Lee, TJ Blitz, Ben Adams, Richie, Bergang. I'll ask you this. We had a good run this year at wide receiver. Okay, we got a top 10 guy in Devontae Smith worked out.
Mm-hmm.
He's a good player.
Mm-hmm.
Reagor, JJ, Hightower. We got lucky with Quez.
Mm-hmm.
But do you think this organization becomes a little weary of drafting a receiver past like a guy being rated a top 12 player? Do you think that they become a little too concerned about the nature of how many they've missed? I'm not saying they wouldn't take a guy in later, third, fourth round, something like that. But do you think that weighs in and they say, you know what, this team really just needs a veteran that we can depend upon?
And that's why I say, like, either you go all in on a free agent that's really good, that you don't have to worry a second of your time of wondering, is he going to make plays for us? Like a guy like Robinson, like a guy like, Adams there. Or you just keep on shooting the barrel. First round pick. You got 3 of them. You just want them for another first round talent. Like Olivier, what do you call his name? I don't know how to pronounce his name either. Olivier, whatever his name is. Like that boy has been doing.
The kid from Ohio State.
He's been doing big things for the last 2-3 years now. So he's
not
like
a big guy. I don't think he's a big guy, but he's just really good at body position. And that's a guy like if you tell me like Gate, you're not going to get that guy. They're too big a risk in this draft. You might get a guy, you might hit on him later rounds, but you can get a guy like Olivier from Ohio State, and this is a guy that he runs crisp routes, he gains separation, he's got great body control, so he can play on the boundary quite easily. Just like Devontae can play the boundary, it's just that his frame, he's slight of frame. You don't want him getting bracketed and taken out because there's less space to have to worry about him. So if you take a guy like that, I do wonder, maybe a guy like that makes more sense, because he is, he's one of these guys that has the nuances of running the position. Maybe not the physical measurements I'm speaking of, being a 6-foot+ guy and having an 80.
Because you don't really have to be 6'4" or whatever. Like if you're good, you can be like a 6'1" guy and play that outside just fine. You know what I'm saying?
You can separate, and if you can separate and you can gain body control, I think Doug Baldwin, former Seahawks receiver.
Mm-hmm.
Not a big guy. Great separator, good body control. Then you can do it. But like I said, experiments are tough.
How about this question for you, Gate? Do you think Devontae Smith, and this is no slight on a Slim Reaper, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. I think he's a great receiver, right? But do you think you'll still can get a guy that can be a true number one, more well-rounded number one? So like kind of like how Julio Jones and Ridley had Julio Jones on the other side, you know what I'm saying? Yeah. Get that guy, and so Devontae Smith will always be going against like the second and third cornerback as opposed to first cornerback all the time, getting all the attention. Do you think that might step his game up even farther? Or do you not even want to mess with the guy's psyche? Because you tell our team been really messing with players' psyche over the last year. You go back to Wentz, the quarterback, Jalen Hurts. You go back to Reagor, drafting, Devontae Smith.
At some point, guys got to be.
Hell, you can go to Hightower, getting drafted before Watkins, and Watkins getting the roll over him. You know what I'm saying? That could be another reason why he's not playing as well. Do you want to keep that pattern going by getting someone? I don't know if Devontae Smith would be that type of guy.
I don't think it'll hurt Devontae because he's still a top 10 pick at the end of the day. He's still going to get targets. It's not going to affect Dallas Goedert. He's got his paycheck. So, you know what I mean? Like, he's going to be perfectly fine. It might affect Reagor because it would most certainly affect his snap count.
Definitely.
You know what I mean? It's going to affect the snap count. There's no doubt about it. And you can see in the chat, like, the chat. I'm going to read out some of what you guys said here, man. Tyler Higbee said, go get a veteran. TJ Blitz said, I said bring a veteran in. That's what he's saying. One Tree Rock said, we should do what the Steelers used to do, draft a wide receiver every year. Howie's been trying to do that with some pretty mixed results. So.
But what do you think about that? The Steelers do got, 2 receivers going to be free agents?
Sure.
Is Claypool in Juju? And Juju's from USC, so I'm always in board for Juju.
If they had a Hines Ward type player there, are they still doing this? Or did they get really good players, but no one to quite Hines Ward level?
Or what about this? Not even going to get one of these big name players or even a top flight receiver and just go try to talk a guy like Larry Fitzgerald out of retirement. Just a nice veteran, guaranteed to get open, catch the ball. You don't need to give them a bunch of reps. You're still letting your young guys develop, your young guys grow, get their targets. Larry might come in on third down, red zone type of situation, but he can teach these guys a world of football and a world of techniques to help them become better pros. And you spend some money on him. And you wouldn't have to break the bank for Larry. You know what I'm saying? I think he's retired. He hasn't played all year long, right? You just get him in with a nice veteran minimum, maybe a little bit more just for him, being who he is. But
yeah, TJ Blitz got me laughing. He said he came out with a shopping list. He said we should have scooped up Watkins, OBJ, even Antonio Brown.
I think so too. I really am. OBJ is going to be a free agent again too, and I wouldn't even mind getting OBJ.
Hey, no problem, Rock Lee. Look, I everyone knows me as the quarterback guy, and I've coached and I played quarterback, but I've also coached wide receivers almost as long as I've coached quarterbacks. So, I mean, I really do study tape on wide receivers, and Doug Baldwin was one of my favorites. I still think he's one of the most underrated route runners that ever played in the NFL. Why don't the Eagles throw fades, 50-50 balls in the end zone, even with Wentz? Some of it has to do with timing between the wide receivers and the quarterback. I think in 2020 it was really difficult to do that just because you didn't have a lot of time on field together because of all the protocols that were in place. Mm-hmm. So I think when you have a young receiving core, you had a second-year guy in JJ, and then you had 3 first-year guys, and you had an undrafted rookie free agent in Fulgham. Or no, I'm sorry. He was a 6th. My bad, guys. He was a 6th-round pick, but he was cut and added to your practice squad and then brought up. Sorry. So when you look at that, there wasn't a lot of chemistry for that type of thing.
And fade ball's really not too much to be done with rookies. And you know what I'm saying? You want someone with experience to know how to, run that route, how to position their body to catch that kind of ball.
Very good. That's kind of like what we saw with Reagor. Reagor is a good contested catch guy from college, man. I mean, he's definitely got huge vertical, 42-inch vertical. Reagor can elevate better than people think. But what good does a 42-inch vertical do you if you run out of bounds?
Yeah.
So I mean, they did kind of try some fades and stuff early in the year, and they've hit on a few. I mean, they hit Devontae Smith on the first game of the year on a fade, beautiful fade. So I mean, it's here and there, it's been there, but nothing with any kind of consistency per se.
Yeah, true that, man. True that. And I'm not saying that these guys can't even develop. I see even if a guy like Quez Walker hits the offseason, because you see the jump he made from year 1 to year 2. Now, say this year, he makes another jump, where he gets even better route running, and he might even bulk up a little bit more. Now you might have a really dominated receivers because the speed probably won't leave too much because he's fast enough, to lose a half a second, but still, pick up that weight to become a more physical receiver.
Absolutely, yeah. We got some regulars popping in now. I see. Show enough 215. What's good, buddy? He said, and the O-line. Good point. In 2020, we only had 14, 15 changes on the O-line. And then Philly Fresh coming in with the Yoda. What's good, Fresh? Hey, Fresh, we got to get you on the stream one of these days, man, when we do these national TV shows, man. Because I know that I know you definitely got some opinions about the national, the league as a whole and some of these guys. So.
Yeah, Montre Rock said he was like, man, you on with Gate, man. I never even done a show or met the guy, man. He looks at you like a legend. I'm like, yeah, man, we can get you on here. Talk some ball with Gate, man. Everybody want to talk with you, Gate.
Yeah, hey, look, guys, I'm not really a snob in that way at all. Just hit me up and say, do you got time? I mean, I'll let you know if I have time or not, guys. I don't really, I don't even really look at anybody's channel, guys, like that. It's not, when I came up, I was very fortunate to have guys like LD 500. I made really good friends early on with Reese and Mike, and Mike he blew up on us. So sometimes it really is a matter of just asking, man. Don't be afraid to ask, guys.
Yeah. I know I won't be afraid of that. I ask all you guys, and I'll blow your inbox up until you say yes.
Yeah. Don't be afraid to ask, guys.
But
hey, what I can tell you guys as young content creators, what's the worst you're going to get? A no? Like,
right. At the end of the
you
day.
know what I'm saying? And most of the times, it's never going to be a direct no.
Mm-hmm. It'd be a elongated no. Let me see what I can do. Let me get back to you.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's going to be a brush off.
Oh man.
But I generally, guys, I'll work with anybody. I'm not really like that. I like even bringing, like I said, last Sunday I had a live stream with someone who's just a channel member. They're just somebody that follows the content. They're a former high school coach. They played high school football. Like, someone that knows the game said, look, I really want to come on and do like a film study with you. Like, I appreciate what you do. And I think that I can help free you up to kind of do some things by helping you out with the film. So that way you can kind of interact with people and do more explaining. I really appreciated it. So, I mean, like,
good football talk is good football talk. It don't matter where it comes from.
I've learned talking to guys like Ken Saad, talking to Jalen Williams. Jalen Williams has taught me so much about line play, offense and defensive line play. And to give you guys a clue of how like Jalen and I first met each other, Jalen disagreed with one of the points I had about, it was actually the Seahawks playoff game. And I was talking about Jason Peters and I was talking about the protection. Jalen being a former collegiate offensive lineman was like, Gate, I have a little different perspective on that. So we had a disagreement, not like anything crazy. Just, we saw things a little differently and I brought him on to talk about it. And then I ended up learning a ton from the guy. I mean, he taught me a whole crap ton about technique and stuff on the offensive line. So
I had a great show when I had Jalen on my show too, man. That's a smart dude.
Yeah, absolutely. He knows the game.
We go in our little banners back and forth on Twitter, but he's definitely a smart guy over there.
Yeah, Jalen knows his stuff, man. He's really smart. Ken knows his stuff. I mean, I've walked into a bunch of you guys that some of you guys just don't want to run channels. For the life of me, I don't understand why you don't. But some of you just want to do it,
right?
But you got good insight.
Definitely got some. Like, hey man, why don't you have to? I have the time. Like, you're in all the live, you see everything. Like, you got the time, my guy.
You get a content creators. What's up, Eagles Champ One?
What's up, champ? He said we should draft Jameis Williams.
I'll give you a funny story about Eagles Champ One. I don't even know if he remembers this. The first time I met Eagles Champ One, I didn't know that he liked Jalen Ramsey a lot. And the Eagles, they didn't trade for Jalen Ramsey a couple of years ago. And I made a video. And I was like, I said in the video, like, hey, guys, I know that a lot of you guys were, like, really on the Jalen Ramsey, bandwagon. I'm sorry, it didn't happen. And Eagles Champ One thought I was coming at him about that. And I was like, no, man, I don't even know who you are. Like, what are you doing? Like, but that was the first time I met him. Then I, of course,
be a little hyperactive.
No, he's a content creator. And I was like, oh, now I feel bad because like he thought I came after him and I didn't even know that, But yeah, it's funny, man. I mean, I met a lot of people. I met Ricky. Ricky does stuff here with BGN Network, guys. You guys probably know him as Boys for Life.
Yeah. And when he can get him down where he can stop all the trolling, he actually do know how to talk some good football.
I had Ricky on. We talked for a little bit. Guys, we appreciate y'all tuning in. We're going to go for about 5 more minutes. I told my guy I wasn't going to keep him. He just came off a live stream, so I don't want to hold him up, too long, guys.
Look at that.
He said I was mad. That was forever ago, bro. It's all good, man. Hey, look, guys. I can tell you this. Like, YouTube's a crazy journey. When I met Mike, he had under 200 subscribers. Like, think about that. I don't even think I had 100 subscribers yet when Mike and I started, like, talking and, like, collabing on stuff. Like, I remember helping Mike pick out his laptop. Like, giving him some ideas for the type of specs you need for the laptop and stuff. Like,
nice.
I know Mike since he used to film on this side, like his old house. He had that that side entrance, and he used to film on that. Like, that's how long I knew him. Yeah,
that's old school right there. That's old school.
Exactly. Yeah.
And that's the one thing about this whole community. It doesn't even matter, like, really, what team you root for. Like, all these guys are out there, And they're like, if you talk to them, like, you just can't be scared to talk to them. Don't just, if you do talk to them in like a live or something, if they got time after, me, I'll ask you questions till the end of the night. You know what I'm saying? Like, cause a lot of people are willing to give you information if you're worried about not starting something because you might not know, like you said, what laptop to use, what camera to use. You're not sure what kind of content you want to put out. Do you want to do more videos? Do you want to do more live stream? Any of that stuff. Like, if you ask these guys, man, they would definitely tell you. They'll take the time out and talk to you. Definitely, man.
I'm a whole Philly Mike up, and we're going for 25 minutes. I'm joking.
Yeah, Mike.
Tyler Higbee said, "What do you think of ankle gate?" It would have been funny if you'd have put Comet Gate.
Right? I don't know. Like, at first I thought it was fake. And I thought, here we go.
I think it is to an extent.
I think it's to do that. But if you watch that one clip of him walking, when he walks past the tent, he has to like move over a little bit, and that's when you can see that that's real. That's not. Yeah, that's not a fake injury.
I think he's dealing with a real injury, but I also think the organization might be tipping their hand a little bit in the fact that if the young man feels like he, even with the injury, is healthy enough to play, but they're worried about the limitations in him being in the pocket, that's probably tipping their hand a little bit about how they feel about the quarterback situation in general. I don't think that guy is out there, though, guys, next year. I don't. I mean, I know some of you guys are really high on Kenny Pickett, and I haven't done enough homework yet to say he's not the guy, but I'm not, from the little bit I saw, because I'm an ACC guy, and maybe I'm just being, I don't know, maybe I'm just being a hater because I'm an NC State guy and he's a Pitt guy. Mm-hmm. But, I see a guy that is an exciting college player, but I saw limitations to his game, and that makes me a little concerned. I will say that he's going to deal with some questions, and I think he's going to fall in the draft. This is really crazy. I hate talking about this kind of stupid stuff, but his hand size is small, guys. Mm-hmm. I ain't saying nothing personally about this young man. I'm just saying his hand measurement's supposed to come in small. So there's questions about this young man gripping the football in winter and in inclement weather. He played pretty well in the rain against Sam Howell in Carolina. I don't know.
Another thing I was looking at, people got to really look at, is that, say Jalen's not 100%, you know what I'm saying? Like, it is a high ankle sprain. You do know those take a little bit longer, to heal up. And you've seen the report of how many, of the Washington football team players might not be playing. So it might even be a smarter move to go ahead and let them get 100% instead of putting them out there at 80%. You know what I'm saying? Let them be a full 100% because they're looking like, they won't even have a starting defensive line. The quarterback's all messed up. They might not even have a quarterback for the game. Their offensive line's out. Their starting corners are out. You know what I'm saying? Like, there's a lot of people. They had 20 people on that list, you know what I'm saying? Plus injuries to your starting center, which is your fifth string center, your right tackle and whatnot and things like that. So it's like, that's a lot of people, man. Why even risk him going out there and, tweaking it, when you can let Minchie go out there and beat these boys, half strength.
So, hey, Richie, to get to your question, Kenny Pickett's been around so long. He was there when Max Brown transferred from USC to Pitt, and Max Brown got to meet him his last year playing. I'm going to try to hit Max Brown up in the offseason. I can't do it right now, guys, because he works for the PAC network. So he's not going to have – he does color commentary. He's not going to have time to do it right now. But I'm going to see if he's got some time during the offseason before the draft to come on and talk about Kenny Pickett. Since he's got a, I won't say a close relationship. I don't know how close the relationship is, but they were in the same room together at Pitt. So, see if he'll come on and talk a little bit about him.
Yeah, so is it Mac Pickett is weak? Yeah, that's one of them things. Like I say, if because some of those guys didn't have their vaccinations or whatnot, so whichever one, whatever that number is, when it comes closer to like Friday, you know what I'm saying? That number of players still on that list, that's really going to determine if Jalen plays or not.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Like if they're playing, majority of their starters do make it past that list. Well, their starting corner, Fuller's not playing at all because he wasn't vaccinated, so he's done for 10 days period. So that's completely out. You know what I'm saying? I think the injury the way what was it, the center was carted off the field. So
Yeah.
he's completely out. You know what I'm saying? So some of these players are completely out. But these other questionable players, if they don't get if they don't play, man, I can totally see Jalen sitting another week. Like, we need him healthy if we're gonna make a run, down the stretch, anyways. So, and like, fans really shouldn't even look too far into it in terms of the quarterback controversy or whatnot. It's just a smarter move. It's a business move. You know what I'm saying? If the team has half of their players sitting out, where you're going to be playing some practice squad players or some dudes off the street that they have to pull up just to fill the roster, then why would you even care if Jalen's playing or not? It should be an easy win no matter what. And, he can come back fully healthy when we're playing the next game against the Giants. Yeah.
So, Richie, to end this, guys, I'll tell you the story and then we'll end it. We won't tie Mike up too long. But to tell you guys a story about a baseball story and a guy named Russell Wilson. So at NC State, believe it or not, they ended up getting Russell Wilson, this unheralded guy out of Richmond. Following the recruiting class of Russell Wilson, like a year or two later, they pulled Mike Glennon out of Virginia as well. Mike Glennon was like 5-star, huge recruit. Same Mike Glennon that's in the NFL that started for the Giants a couple weeks ago. Russell Wilson was viewed as being a smaller quarterback, and he played on the baseball team at NC State. He ended up getting a minor league contract out in Asheville, North Carolina, and he told Tom O'Brien. Tom O'Brien was the head coach here. He was a former Marine. Nothing against Marines guys on prior Navy. I always respect anyone that served, but Tom O'Brien was one of those guys, like, you had to learn to love that guy because he's difficult to like. Tom O'Brien ends up taking this hardline stance with Russell Wilson and says if he leaves to play minor league baseball, he will not be welcomed back to NC State's program. So, long story short, he goes to Asheville to play baseball, realizes, I'm not giving up my shot at the NFL for this. Comes back to NC State, asked to come back, but because they wanted to keep Glennon for 2 years, instead of only keeping Russell the 1 year, they told Russell, no, we'll give you your permission to seek a transfer. So he transferred to Wisconsin as a result of that. And they ended up getting 2 more years of Mike Glennon. Russell Wilson goes to Wisconsin, becomes a 3rd-round pick, and then, blah, 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 blah happens. Weird baseball story, guys. It's just strange. You'd have to understand, like, the politics of NC State, guys. But, yeah, it was probably not our brightest moment here. To sacrifice 1 extra year with Russell Wilson to gain 2 years with Mike Glennon. Yeah.
Bad move.
Yeah, no, I didn't agree with it. Yeah.
And then before we get out of here, that's a good one. I like to hear what you got to say about that one.
Beyond injury, Steve, how can Stingley fall out of the top 10 in the 2022 draft? I don't know there's anything I can say, Richie, that's going to make him slide down the board.
But it's like, how good has he been playing? I haven't heard too much of him this year.
Yeah, it would have to be based upon film. The problem with SEC guys is they play more man and they play more, more match and mirror and press than other leagues do. So, you get a guy that's really good coming out of like the Big 12. It's not quite the same as coming out of the SEC. So those guys tend to be top half of the draft, top 16 draft picks. Think about C.J. Henderson a few years ago, right? I liked C.J. Henderson's film a lot. I didn't think he was a top 10 pick. He went top 10. He went number 9 to Jacksonville, I believe. That's kind of tough, man. I don't think Stingley's going to slide past the top 12. You might get him past the top 10, but I don't think he's making it past the top 12 personally, unless there's something on film about him I've yet to see yet. I mean, you never
think too, if he gets up, there's a lot of quarterback needy teams. Mm-hmm. If some of these guys start overreaching for some of these quarterbacks early, that can probably push him out of the top 10 because you still got some good ends out there, Hutchinson and what's his name from Oregon, Thibodeau's,
Well, there's the other kid from Michigan, the other pass rusher.
Hutchinson.
Not Hutchinson. He's a surefire, probably top 5 pick.
Mm-hmm.
There's the other guy, Ojibwe,
Ojawari.
Ojawari, yeah, whatever his name is.
Yeah.
He's he could be a guy that if he ends up going top 10, he could slide corners now. Pass rushers, offensive linemen. Boy, if someone's really crazy and goes Kenny Pickett in the top 10, that could absolutely slide things. I don't know, man. I don't think this is the year where you're going to see a quarterback go top 10. You never know. I would never put money on that, but I don't feel like
you think about it too. Like they did it this year with those Lances and those guys, and you see it. But then again, that could actually push them away from doing it next year, because a lot of these guys are like 1 year stars as opposed to like long-term success. You know, everybody was like Trey Lance going to blow it up this year, and you know, he's still sitting behind what's his name over there in San Francisco.
Yeah, and that's true, and that's, you know, it's someone has to slide you, and I don't think Stingley's going to get slid. I really, you know, maybe they look at just how good the defensive back class is this season, and they say, you know what, we're going to get a dang good guy outside the top 10, so we're just not. And maybe teams start passing on him because of that. Sometimes that can work against you. I will say the safety from Notre Dame, he's going top 10. I think. You
think so?
Yeah, I think he's going top 10. I know safeties don't normally get drafted that high, but he's a special talent. I think that's a surefire top 10.
Hamilton's a beast.
You know, you look at Pitts, the same argument was made. Like, man, tight ends really shouldn't be going that high. But, you know, Pitts was this weird in-betweener, was a wide receiver that converted to tight end, and just had these weird athletic measurables, the way he could impact a game. You know what I mean? Like, I think you're going to get the same kind of thing here. But then again, you know, maybe teams look at what happened with Arizona. You remember that kid that Arizona drafted a couple years ago? I can't think of his name now, man. It slipped on my mind.
How about the safety?
He went to Clemson. He was a safety, and I think they've been playing him as a linebacker.
Yeah. Oh man.
I can't think of
his
his name now.
Dang.
Yeah.
Ah, man.
Maybe they look at someone like that and say that's a cautionary tale of a player who's immensely talented and might have a successful NFL career, but it wasn't immediate. You know,
I see his name right there. I hate when it happens.
I can't think of it either. Somebody in the comment section will probably get it. But,
yeah.
I mean, like somebody like that, maybe Isaiah Simmons.
Simmons, yes.
Yeah,
there you go.
Flag. Oh, you got it, bro. It's exactly what I was thinking.
Facts.
Yeah, like someone like that, maybe they use that as a precautionary tale about safeties, these hybrid type. But as Isaiah Simmons was so unique, man. Like he wasn't. The hardest thing you had to do with Isaiah Simmons was figure out how you play him. You knew the kid was a talented. He could play linebacker. He could play safety. You could probably put that guy outside a boundary corner. Like he was just that talented.
It's kind of like what Wash is doing with Landon Collins.
Yeah,
bring him up for that linebacker spot because he wasn't doing that great at safety. You know.
Yeah.
But
Tyler, I would take Hutchinson in a second. That guy's legit. I want Hutchinson, but we're not going to have a shot unless we trade up. The Eagles would have to identify him and then find teams that are willing to pass on him to take the extra picks to go get him. And if teams are willing to do that,
would you pair up 2 draft picks and move up to get him?
Absolutely.
Take 2 of the first.
I know the Eagles need a lot of
first though out of a 3.
Yeah. I know the Eagles need a lot of players.
Yes,
but you need marquee players too, and I think he's one of them. I think he's a marquee player in the league.
Who are you picking out of Hutchinson and Hamilton?
I think Hamilton is the better overall athlete. I think Hutchinson will be the better pro because of the importance of the position. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
Now, I will say this.
But we got ends.
I'll say this about Hamilton. Put him in the right system where the safety is immensely important, and you got the Micah Parsons situation.
Or like the Derwin James.
Yeah, exactly. You got that kind of like, okay, ideally you don't want to take a player from this position that highly, but because of the system we run, you know what I mean? Like then I could see teams saying like, no, you got to have this type of guy. But look, I mean, Darius Leonard was a 2nd-round pick.
Who?
I know you can't go into a draft, guys, going, find me Darius Leonard. That ain't going to work.
Oh, yeah.
You know, but you get what I'm saying here. Like, find me Darius Leonard.
That's hard to
find
do.
me the bargain bin version of Darius. No, I'm joking.
Right?
I think we kind of got that guy, a bargain bin version.
And even Jacoby Stevens, we don't even know what he is.
Yeah.
Still.
Mm-hmm.
You think this whole year off is going to be good for his career moving forward? Or is it that he's not producing good enough at the NFL level to even keep him around, worry about him?
Man, I'll say this. Eric Wilson, those guys were a mistake. I would have probably, we're keeping 101 freaking defensive backs on the field because we want to keep these guys and we want to try them out for the following season. But Jacoby Stevens probably deserves some reps, man, especially with the injuries we've
He
suffered.
look big. You see him walking back whenever you see the players go to the background. You can tell who Jacoby is. He walks back like he done beefed up from college. You know what I'm saying? I imagine he's still athletic. He plays that safety role. Maybe they're just saving him for, Harris not re-signing. Or, McLeod maybe giving up a McLeod early.
If you got a team, though, that's sitting there, this is what I hate about the draft. You got a team sitting there in the top 5, and you got these quarterbacks that skyrocket up the board come March. And you got a Hutchinson, you got these marquee players, okay, that you could get Hamilton, all these guys. And somebody takes Kenny Pickett. Shame on you. Because Kenny Pickett better turn out to be the next big thing.
Yeah.
And it's that is a ton of stress on the team. I think Kenny Pickett needs to go to a team that's almost ready to compete. Not a team that's in complete rebuild mode.
Facts.
And
I think, we're going to be looking at the late half of, the first round anyway with all 3 of these picks. And Miami starting to win. You got the Colts winning. We're winning more games than normal. Everybody expect all of us. So it's like you're looking at the 15 to 20 range, 22 range, depending on if we go to the playoffs. If we get the playoffs, automatically puts us 20th pick of the draft. Just for even entering the playoffs, you're automatically boosted into that 20 range. So, man, that's you're gonna have to package to get up there and get one of those elite guys. Or if some of them start to fall, but 3 in the top. That's why I say you just keep them because you're probably still going to get 3 really good players, and you won't have to pay that as much money as if they were top 15.
Show enough. You're right. You're right, man. You are absolutely right that we are at trouble at safety after this season. And I think one of the things that hurts the most about this season was how good Rodney McLeod was to end 2020 before the injury. He started off looking like a guy that was playing pretty well when he first came back from injury this season. Man, they're limiting his snaps for a reason. Those snaps are coming off the board for a reason. And I fear he's done. And that stinks, man, because if it hadn't been for injuries, I still think he had 2 or 3 years of productive play left in him. And I think he might be done. And that's unfortunate because I like Rodney McLeod. I mean, we started off with a very affectionate relationship where I kept calling him McDouble. Anyone that has followed the battle boards remember that I used to mispronounce Rodney McLeod's name. I used to call him McLeod. But, that's a shame that might come to be truthful that you might have to back in Al Harris if you can. You might have to play Marcus Epps and kind of keep him around. You might have to hope Kevon Wallace can come back and give you something. And you're probably going to have to draft or sign somebody in free agency because I don't know, man. Maybe you can convert one of these 99 cornerbacks we have. I don't know.
Percy Harvin. What up, CG?
Mm-hmm. Well, technically, I think Brad Smith was before Percy Harvin. They were right around the same time.
No.
Brad
really,
Smith.
you want to go back, Cordell Stewart.
Yeah. Yeah. Quarterback.
Flash everything, my guy.
Yeah, from the quarterback position, where he could play receiver, he played a little bit of everything. I mean, I don't know, man. I don't know what they're going to do, guys. There's a lot of rebuilding that has to happen. Yeah. We'll see, guys. This defense needs a lot. This defense, it needs a lot of talent infused. All right, guys, I'm not going to keep my guy here any longer because he's already gone and given us 15 minutes past when he said he needed to get off of here. I promised him I would get him off of here by 8:30. We are now at 9:01.
I'm like, oh, no, I think I need to be in the live right now. on another
Thank you all
guy's
so much
channel.
for tuning in. CJ Ruthless, we appreciate you coming in and talking, man. Thank you so much, buddy. We got Tyler in here. Paul, I didn't see you in here, buddy. How you doing, bud? He's talking about Hutchison. Richie MC, Eagles Champ 1. Everybody that commented in the chat tonight, guys, we appreciate y'all so much. Keep in mind, we do this national TV show every Wednesday, guys. We're going to do
Every Wednesday.
We're going to do a national topic, all right? Eventually.
We still give you a little bit of birds, too, as you see.
Yeah.
We're going to give you a little bit, but mostly we're going to focus on the big topics.
Yeah.
You know, players making moves.
Hey, CJ Ruthless, I appreciate that, buddy. Eventually, guys, we want to get you guys involved. We want to get you guys involved with picking topics for us, maybe even coming in and contributing to the conversation when we bring up these conversations about people from the league. Especially if you're if we're talking about a player on the Falcons and you're a Falcons fan or a Falcons content creator, we would love to get your perspective on the player we're talking about. So
Facts.
We definitely want to do more like that, guys. All right, y'all. Thank y'all so much. Hey, Burgang 31, I really do appreciate you, bro.
Hey, thank you, my guy. I appreciate it. I love the show, man. It's good stuff.
Yep. All right, man. Peace, y'all. We're out of here.
Peace.
See y'all next Wednesday.